You will find the Equinox EV either front wheel or all-wheel drive. This one's the all-wheel drive variety, but the question of do you go front wheel or all-wheel is going to depend on you. Because I'm in Canada, so I would go all-wheel drive, but if you want more range, then front-wheel drive makes the most sense. If you want more power, then the all-wheel drive version makes more sense. So it's a delicate balance there. You got to figure out what's important for you. But let's try a little bit of handling here, responsiveness. Nice and responsive. Yeah, that's fun. And let's do a little 180. Turning radius. Not bad. All right, and it's a fun little electric. There are a series of different wheel sizes inside of the ride, with 19s inside of the lower trims and then 21-inch blacked out wheels when you get inside of the RS. And then looking at the overall range inside of the ride, front wheel drive is going to get you further than all-wheel drive. So you're maxing out at 319 miles or 513 kilometers, with your range in the all-wheel drive model maxing out at 285 miles or 459 kilometers. So if you need the best possible range, go for the front-wheel drive version. But if you're in northern states or Canada like me, where we get snow a couple months out of the year, I would say pony up for all-wheel drive. You get better traction in the wintertime and you get way more power in comparison too. Charging for the Equinox EV is done just along the driver's side. It's got support for level 1, level 2, and for level 3 DC supercharging, with the charge rates varying depending on how you have the vehicle configured. You are going to find a 20-foot charge cable right from the factory, and it's got support for level 1 and for level 2. And you can easily swap out the tips going one way or the other. Level 2 as a default, you're going to be able to charge up to 11.5 kilowatt, but there is the option of upgrading to 19.2 for that level 2 charge. And then with level 3, you're maxing out at 150. Whether you even decide to look at a level 2 charge station at home is going to depend on how often you're driving, as this technically has a usable 85 kilowatt hour battery. There's been some testing done where it's shown that it goes up to 90 to 94-ish, somewhere in that ballpark, but you do get pretty good range inside of this ride. So it's different for front wheel versus all-wheel drive. Front wheel is going to give you the best possible range. All-wheel gives you the most power, so there's a delicate balance there. At a default, let's say if you only have a level 1 charger at home, so just a regular wall plug, you're going from 0 to 100 in about 85 hours, so a little over 3 days. With the default 11.5 kilowatt level 2, you're going to be charging it from 0 to 100 in about 8 hours. If you upgrade to the available 19, you're looking at dropping your charge times down to about 4 hours, 4.5 hours or so, which is pretty respectable. There are some things that are going to negatively impact your overall range and your charge times inside of electrics. If you're charging up in winter, is going to be the big one there. So colder it gets, the longer it's going to take you to charge, and then it's going to negatively impact your overall range. So general rule of thumb is that your charge times in the winter time are going to be about 20% longer, and your range generally is going to be negatively impacted at least 20%. And that's where preconditioning the cabin comes into place so that you're not wasting the battery unnecessarily. The overall styling of the Equinox RS, I think, is sporty. It looks pretty nice. Now, there's no traditional grille, obviously, because it's an electric, but I like the way that Chevrolet's designed this. So you've got this like almost carbon fiber type of material that stretches across the middle part above the license plate, and then you can also see some air vents along the side. You're going to find LED headlamps inside of the ride, regardless of the trim level, but inside of the RS trim, there's a lit bar that stretches across underneath the hood. And lit up at night, the front end looks pretty solid. And then technology-wise, you're going to find the forward park sensing system along with a front-facing camera. So there is a full 360 cam in this ride, and one thing that I love about the GM world is the quality of the cameras. All around, especially at nighttime, they're fantastic. There's one thing I think they could upgrade, and that's being able to record using that front-facing camera and then the side and the rear cameras. Like, the cameras are there, so I think putting in a little bit of a hard drive into the vehicle where it can also record these cameras would absolutely make sense. There aren't many manufacturers that offer that, unfortunately, but that's just one gripe that I've got with most manufacturers. And then underneath the hood of the Equinox EV, there's no usable frunk space underneath the hood whatsoever. So GM's just kind of decided to go with the more traditional internal combustion engine look. Would be nice for a little engine cover to cover things off there, but yeah, there'd be zero space for any sort of frunk underneath the hood here. This one is the all-wheel drive version, which means you're looking at 300 horsepower, 355 pound-feet of torque. We got to get back up to highway speed here. I'm going to go into sport mode. There we go. And we'll go in 3, 2, and 100. All right, so while it's not the fastest EV that you're going to find out there, the performance there, more than acceptable. Oh, that's pretty nice. And then underneath the hood here, you can top up your wiper fluid along the right-hand side. And then looking at the warranty inside of the Chevrolet world, since this is an electric, your basic is going to be a 3-year, 60,000 mile, 36,000 kilometer, with those electric components getting bumped up to 8 years, 160,000 kilometer, 100,000 miles. So you do get pretty good coverage overall. You can always increase your warranty at time of purchase if you need that extra peace of mind. But one thing that I love about electrics is you don't have to worry about maintenance as much as you'd have to for the internal combustion counterpart. So if you're the type of person where you don't necessarily maintain your cars, an electric could make sense. And it's a balance of the cost of the vehicle up front, your overall maintenance costs, and how much you're looking at for fuel versus for electric, just plugging it at home. So there are a lot of things you have to consider whether you decide to go gas or electric. I just love the power, the feature sets you're going to get inside of this ride. And it would be nice to see some frunk space, but looking at all the wiring there, if you're mechanically inclined, is kind of neat at the same time. You're only going to find manual, folding side view mirrors in the ride. You've also got the blind spot monitoring system. They're heated as well. Then there's a side mounted camera there. Hopping inside. One of two available interiors here, but you've got this interesting little highlight along the door there. It's kind of neat. There's the option for driver's seat memory. And these are going to be the same across the lineup. So you can adjust your side view mirrors. There are some window controls with some storage. There's only a single speaker choice available. And it's a 6-speaker audio system inside of the ride. Got your hood release, basic pedals there, and then the rubberized trays. I recommend either getting them right from the factory or going through WeatherTech, but these are way easier to clean than carpeted mats. Then you've also got 12-volt power point down there with some storage. Seats there are pretty neat. Power adjustable seats for the driver's side with the option for power adjustable on the passenger. Now with the driver's seat, there we go, as far down as it's gonna go. Up overhead, I've got 3.5 teetering on like 3.75 inch headspace. So I'm 6 feet tall. So if you're 6'4", you'll probably comfortably be able to sit inside of this ride. Seat's nice and comfy too. And then if you look, so the material here, it's like a mix. So it's like a faux leather seat with a little cloth insert. And since this is the RS, got a unique highlight there too. Looking at the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Chevrolet Equinox EV. This is specifically the EV. If you're in one of the gas versions of the ride, you'll find a walkthrough down in the description. But let's dive in and I'll show you everything that you need to know. The first thing is that the steering wheel inside of the ride across the lineup is going to be manual telescoping. So in the middle of the column, there's a release. You can go in, out, up and down to find that perfect position. Once you find it, click it in order to lock it back into place. And there are so many different buttons and stalks. So we'll start off with the stalk along the left-hand side. So that one is going to be for your blinkers, so left versus right. And then you can also flash out your high beams. Now, as of right now, so it's daytime, so I'm in the auto headlamp mode, which means that I can't permanently lock my high beams out. But inside of the infotainment system, you've got your light options along the side there, so 4 different modes. And then you've either got controls along the top or swipe across until you see your controls. Then you've got other options. But if we go to more controls, lights, your overhead lighting, so you can toggle that on or off. your high beam. So you want to be in the auto high beam mode with your auto headlamp mode enabled, and you want to be in auto the majority of the time. So the way that that works, if the vehicle recognizes high beams are needed at night, flips them on automatically. If somebody's oncoming, it turns them off before turning them right back on again. But if you want to permanently lock your high beams out, what you're going to do is go into this bottom headlamp mode and then push away to turn them on, pull towards you in order to turn them off. And then you can also select whether or not you get a reminder. So if you leave the vehicle without turning them off, you can get a reminder there. But I said you're going to be in the auto mode the majority of the time, but it's nice to know you can flash out your high beams or permanently lock them out if you want to. There's a button on the tip of the left stick. If you push that lightly, that's just going to be a simple wipe. But if you push and hold it, that's going to be for your wiper fluid. Then you've got a little rocker in the middle, and that's going to be for your different wiper speed modes. And then the one on the right-hand side is going to be for the rear wiper. You can then push up if you'd like to get that wiper fluid going, down the opposite way there too. And then stick along the right-hand side is going to be your shifter. So foot on the brake, you're going to pull towards you to go into neutral, flip up into reverse, release to go back into neutral, back down to drive from there. So if you just pop up to release, when you pull in, that slides you to neutral, back down. And you can see here, I've got the forward and the reverse park sensing system with something right near the front of the vehicle there. And then there's a button on the tip of the right stick in order to put yourself back into park. Then you've got a paddle along the left-hand side. Now this is not a traditional paddle, like a paddle shifter. The way that it works in the electric world is that if you push and hold this as you're driving, it's going to essentially act as a regen braking switch. So you push and hold that in order to slow the vehicle down. So you'll notice that your regenerative braking screen, so this is going to drop down, trying to capture the charge. So it'll work the same way, like you hit the brake that way. It's just kind of nice to know you can slightly slow yourself down by just kind of lightly tapping or pushing and holding. If you continue to push and hold when you come down to a complete stop, it's going to put you into the auto hold setting too. So that auto hold, you come down to a complete stop, you take your foot off the brake, and the car is not going to move. So it's a pretty neat setting there. Then there are a series of different switches down by your left knee. This is going to be your parking brake. So all you're going to do, tap in order to turn the parking brake on. You're going to press and hold the brake pedal and push again in order to turn the parking brake off. There's your lane keeping system. Auto hold setting. So with that one enabled, when you come down to a complete stop, you can take your foot off the brake and the car is not going to move. You can open and close the liftgate, and then you can also increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster screen. You also have the option for seat memory inside of the ride. So what you're going to do, get your driver's seat set up the way that you'd like to, and then tap set and either 1 or 2 for it to remember your own personal profile. And there are so many different buttons inside of the ride. So we'll start off with the ones along the left-hand side, and these are going to be for cruise control. There are 3 different types of cruise inside of this vehicle. So technically 2 standard, with the 3rd being optional. So you're at least going to have traditional or old school cruise control. There's adaptive cruise control, and then there's super cruise, which is full hands-free driving. Now, the regular cruise control is exactly that. So you can toggle the system on by pushing this button. You can see there, you've got a little message inside of the cluster letting you know that the system is turned on. You then set your speed by pushing down, increase, decrease, 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour by going up and down this way, push and hold up or push and hold down in order to increase faster. You can hit the brake to cancel your speed. You can hit the cancel button to cancel your speed. Then you push up to resume your previously set speed. But like I said, 3 types of cruise. So with your old school or traditional cruise, if you set it at, let's say, 80, the car in front of you slows down, yours will not brake. So you just have to be paying attention. When you get into the adaptive cruise control, that's where you get into the gap adjustment. So there are 3 unique levels that are available. Think of that like a 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi for how close or far you are away from that leading vehicle. I'm personally okay with level 1. You might be on level 2 or 3 depending on your comfort level. And then there's also Super Cruise, which is full hands-free driving. So to switch between the different types of cruise, if you take the cancel button, you push and hold it, that's going to switch you between either regular cruise control, push and hold again, to go into the adaptive cruise control, and then Super Cruise is available on highways or interstates. So in order to actually use this system, you're going to get a little steering wheel icon. It might be on the bottom of the screen, it might be on the top of the screen, depending on which screen view you're looking at. And then once you see that steering wheel, you tap the button there in order to turn Super Cruise on. The steering wheel will initially go blue along the very top here, and then once the Super Cruise system is ready and able to be used, it's going to go green. You can take your hands off the steering wheel, feet off the gas and the brake, and the car will do everything for you. There's even the option for lane change assist inside of the ride. Inside of the infotainment system, if you go into your settings, vehicle, so many options, but you're looking for Super Cruise lane change. So there's off, turn signal activated, or automatic. In the off position, if you've got the Super Cruise system enabled, you'd hit the turn stalk in order to change lanes yourself. Turn signal activated with that one. When you've got Super Cruise enabled, you hit the turn stalk, it's going to check to see if there's anybody next to you, and then it's automatically going to change lanes for you. It's pretty neat. But the auto takes it up a notch. So with the Super Cruise system enabled, you don't even have to hit the turn stalk. So you can if you want to change lanes, but if the vehicle recognizes that the lane you're in, the car in front of you is too slow, it'll put on the turn signal for you automatically, check if there's somebody in the blind spot, and then automatically move over. It can pass that person, and then it can turn on the turn stalk in order to get back into the lane that you were already in. It is a phenomenal system. But if you want a live demonstration of actually using the cruise control system, so the adaptive, the normal, or the Super Cruise, you'll find that down in the description of this video. And then you've got a bunch of buttons along the right-hand side. So the steering wheel might be heated in yours, and it's heated all the way around. Useful for that wintertime driving. You've got a voice command prompt, so you could do things like change songs, radio stations, navigate using your voice, but you can do more. Change the fan speed to 3.
Just a moment. Okay, changing the fan speed to 3.
So you can control climate using your voice, adjusting the fan speed, turning on heated ventilated seats, adjusting the climate settings too. It's a phenomenal system. You can navigate using your voice, change radio stations. There are so many things that you can do. So what I'd recommend is start playing around with this if you've got some time to kill, because it is a great system once you get the hang of it. You can answer or hang up on a phone call this way. No phone connected, which is why it's not showing. You could push down in order to mute out your audio there too if you'd like. There's this button in order to get to your little audio screen. So you can go up and down this way in order to see all of your available audio stations. And then you push the button in the middle there in order to act as an OK button. So up and down this way is going to get you to all of your favorites. If you hit this button, it's all of your sources. So AM, FM, SiriusXM, USB, etc. And then just select whatever source, button push OK. And just in behind the steering wheel, you've got a series of different buttons too. So you can use the ones here in order to be able to move between all of your available presets. So if you have presets set up, moving up and down using the pad along the left-hand side. And along the right-hand side of the steering wheel, you can also increase or decrease your volume this way. So just push and hold there in order to move up or down a little bit quicker. Inside of the cluster, you've got a series of different views that are available. I personally normally drive around in either this or this one, but matter of preference here. It can be a little bit tricky to see some of the top icons depending on where you have the steering wheel sit. But we've got, let's just go with our basic view there. So you've got your current time along the outside, but this part of the screen can actually be customized. So inside of the infotainment system, if you go to vehicle status, you've got tire pressure, energy info, and trip counters. So if you look here, you could then add it to the display. So if you tap that, it's going to add in your tire pressure. You can remove it, and that gives you back your date and time. So you can do that with your trip counters if you'd like to. So current trip versus trip info. You can reset your trip counters there if you'd like, or tap add to display in order to get that information right inside of the cluster. So these options here, you can kind of dive in deeper and then get any of this information inside of the left part of the cluster or the part of the cluster, just depending on which view that you've gone for inside of your ride. You've got your current range along the very bottom, vehicles ready to drive, your current battery percentage. So you've got your batteries done a few different ways. So it's kilometers or miles till empty. You've got your percentage there with your gauge along the left-hand side for how full that battery is, your vehicle speed, total odometer, and then if you've got different safety systems enabled. So you've got your cruise control system there. This one is going to be for your lane keeping system. So if you start to veer over to a lane without signaling, it's going to nudge you back into your lane. And then you can also see your different power gauges there. So the one along the very top, that's going to be your power gauge. So think of it more like a traditional tachometer. So you put your foot down, this gauge is going to go up, so you're using energy. The gauge on the bottom is for regenerative braking. So if you hit the brake pedal, it's going to go down, going green. So it's trying to recapture that charge. If you use the paddle along the left-hand side, so you push and hold, you'll notice that that goes down, eventually with the auto hold setting becoming engaged. You've got your current audio sources. Along the very bottom, it's what gear you're in, so reverse, neutral, drive, etc. Back into park, And then you can also see how many people are in the vehicle, whether or not their seatbelts are currently plugged in. I do like that you've got different views. So you've got more of that like traditional view instead. Mapping cluster view is pretty neat. So hold on, let's do something. Navigate to Tim Hortons.
There's a Tim Hortons 0.3 kilometers away.
Could have just used my voice there, but this is quicker. But I mean, you can see there, full mapping cluster view. And then as you move between different screens, you've also got your turn-by-turn directions on some of these screens. So the simplified view doesn't have it, but in all other views, it's either going to be turn-by-turn directions or you've got your mapping cluster view. This is the infotainment system that you're going to find inside of the Chevrolet Equinox EV. It's the same screen you're going to find in a few other Chevrolet vehicles, but let's dive in and I'm just going to show you everything that you need to know. First thing, you've got your volume rocker along the outside of the screen there. There's a button on the very top of the screen there, so if you tap that, that's going to turn you into this more calming screen. Button push again, in order to turn yourself back on. There are a series of buttons along the outside of the screen here too. This one allows you to turn the vehicle off, so if you just don't want it running, turn it off. This one, so actually let me show you this for a second. Reverse, park, so that button is no longer active. So if I were to open up the door, the car would turn off. But if I tap that one, the vehicle is now going to stay on for 60 minutes. So I open up the door and the car is going to stay on. You've got one pedal drive available with a few different levels that are available. So you've got your off mode, normal, and then there's high too. You've got a series of different controls available. So the first one is going to be adjusting the head-up display. So you can adjust out the brightness if you want. I always just recommend maximum brightness. You can adjust the height. So do you want it moving up or down? And then you can also adjust the rotation. So having it move left or right, just depending on how you sit on your seat. You can toggle the head-up display off if you'd like to on top of that. And then navigate to Tim Hortons.
There's a Tim Hortons 0.3 kilometers.
Just choose one of these and start, because if you've got the head-up display, you'll also have your turn-by-turn directions right inside of the head-up display. I think that's a pretty useful setting. Back home and into your controls again. You've got your dome lighting, so you can turn on the overhead light. You can lock out the rear windows. Button push to get into your camera. So you've got your overhead view. So this is for the front, so overhead versus your side view. You can go to your backup camera with a few different views available. Hitting this in order to look at your different guidelines. So if you were in the standard view, you could turn all of these on, off, overhead, side, etc. In the reverse is just going to give you your backup camera there. From there, you've got your traction control. The only time you want to turn this off, wintertime driving, if you're not getting traction, so you're getting some wheel slippage. From here, you've got so many different options. So let's go along the very top. So you've got some hot button pushes for some different things. So home is going to bring you back to this home screen. This is going to be for your little split screen. So you can kind of customize this. So you see this little feller. So you can tap that in order to show audio, Google Maps, or trip information on this little split screen. You've got your audio, maps, phone, and controls. But one cool thing is that you could button push and hold the outside ones. So the outside four, the left two are always locked into place, but you can adjust these out to whatever position you'd like. On top of that, you can also add things. So maybe you wanted a hot button push for your drive modes. Maybe you didn't want that anymore. You can just drag it in order to get rid of it. So you can customize that top tray however you'd like. You can hit here in order to get to different profiles. The benefit of setting up profiles is that if you've got phones that have set up, if you've got addresses that you've searched for and things like that, it's going to remember it and lock it into your individual profile, and then you can adjust it. The big one here, you could rename it. You can add a profile in there, add an account, so you'd add in your Gmail account essentially, but you can also add in security. I recommend this, the profile lock, so a pattern pin or a password. The big reason why is because a person can't just hop into your infotainment system and start looking around if you've got a profile lock on there. So very good from a general safety perspective. If there are security updates and things like that, that would also show up. Profiles are useful. If there are notifications available, you've got your active connections there, date and time, you can adjust it that way, along with your outside temperature. And then you've got a series of different climate control settings that are baked right into the screen. So you can easily adjust out this way, heated, ventilated seats there. You can also adjust out your fan speed that way, sync it up. So if the Passenger side is set to something different. But one cool thing is that just under the screen, you've got some physical dials too. So I know some people aren't crazy about having the climate control settings digital, so you can adjust out pretty much everything that you need. So your fan speed there, adjust it out. And then you've got all of these different options. You've got a series of different drive modes that are available too. So your normal is more like your day-to-day drive. You've got sport mode, which is going to give you the best possible performance. Snow ice plays with your traction control, stability control, and then this is going to be your individual mode, which you can set up using this. How do you want your steering and braking to be? So the difference, normal steering is more like your comfort day-to-day drive versus sport stiffens things up. How do you want your brakes to feel? Acceleration, do you want to be the best possible performance, relaxed, etc.? So you could adjust out your own unique drive mode there if you'd like. And then you've got audio. Series of different sources available. AM, FM, SiriusXM. If you had a USB stick with MP3s on there, that would be available too. If you hop into either AM, FM, etc., you can see all of your presets along the outside. You can easily tune to stations. 94.9 FM.
All right, here's 94.9.
So you could change stations using your voice that way if you'd like to. You can button push here and you can either tune stations this way if you'd like, or you can see all of the stations that are available based off of your geographic area. So if there are stations that you tend to listen to the most, you can easily star them in order to save them as a preset. If you hit this little settings icon, you can adjust out some sound settings, so adjust your bass, mid-range, treble, etc. What I'd recommend here, listen to one of your favorite songs, and while this is playing, adjust this out until it sounds perfect for you. I've personally found like bass cranked a few points, mid-range balance, treble up is good for me, but that's going to come down to a matter of preference. You can adjust out the balance and fade. Do you want it driver focused, rear focused, front passenger focused, or back to center again? You can manage your radio favorites. So you've got all of the favorite stations that you put in there. If you don't want certain stations, you can delete them out. You can hit this little feller in order to be able to adjust them out too. So if you wanted different stations in a different position, you can easily push and hold in order to be able to move them around. You could look at your radio text and then categories. So your radio text, the information here. So whether or not that shows up, and you can easily change stations that way too. But it's using media. It's straightforward. With SiriusXM, it's the same idea. You've got your related. You can play pause. You can hit this little feller to get all of your SiriusXM station information, all of your basic category views. So if you wanted to search by categories, you know who you want to listen to, etc. But that's using media inside of the ride. You've also got the Playstore available here too. So the benefit of the Playstore is that you'd be able to download different apps to the vehicle. So if you wanted to log into the Playstore, you can sign in. There are other benefits of it too. On your phone, the QR code there, just going to scan it. There we go, and we're signing in now. And there are a few benefits here. So one of them is that you could download apps inside of the infotainment system. Another cool thing is with factory navigation, which I'll show you in just a second here. But once we've logged in, you'd now be able to start downloading apps directly to the vehicle. And there are so many different apps that are available inside of this ride. So exploring all apps, I mean, look at this. So ridiculous. So a lot of different options. There are different audio options. I'm a big fan of using Waze inside of my ride. So you could easily download and install any of these apps. Pretty simple. You've got charging available here too. So charging, you've got the option of adjusting what charge percentage you want to go up to. So you can adjust it by spinning it around or by going up and down this way. I recommend, so the way that this is going to work, you want to charge up to like 80% the majority of the time, and that's just going to protect your battery. So if you're just going on just day-to-day driving, you're not doing distance trips, things like that, keep yourself at 80. If you're going on a longer distance trip and you know you'll need the charge, go up to 95 or 100%. I mean, you can see there the range is so much better in comparison. But safe space, 80, 85%, 100% if you're using the charge tomorrow or within the next day or two. You can charge now or charge later. So when you plug in, it'll start charging, or charge later to say when you want to start charging. So maybe you don't want to start charging until 7 p.m. when you get cheaper electricity rates. You can adjust that out. And you can also precondition. So what that means is that when you're plugged in, rather than it drawing power from the vehicle, it's going to draw from the wall in order to precondition the cabin so it's nice and cold or nice and warm for you based off of your preconditioning temperature. So you want it nice and cool for you at a certain time, that's available. You can tap this little feller in order to sign into your Chevrolet account, or you can create a schedule. So if you want to set current location, there we go. And now let's say if you want to charge up certain days, certain times, you can charge up to either 80, 85%, 100%, etc., certain days of the week. So where this is kind of neat, let's say if you, let's go to 100% because you're going to go on a distance trip. Actually, let's go 85 because Monday to Friday you're going to work. You want to have your charging complete by 7 a.m., but you also want to have the cabin preconditioned. So Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., you'll be charged up, preconditioned, nice and cold based off of the temperature that you have set up there. Save and close, you've got your first schedule set up. You can create multiple schedules here too. So if you know you're leaving work at the same time, etc., you can create whatever schedules that you'd like, or simply delete the schedule that way. You can hit this one in order to show your home charging information, fast charging prep if you're getting ready to use that level 3 DC supercharging. You've got your preconditioning temperature there too. So what temperature do you want to be? Obviously in the winter, you could adjust this out, or in the summertime, almost summertime now. And then you can also look at preferred charge times. So preferred charge times, you can set when you're going to be charging up during the weekday. So if you know you're going to get cheap electricity rates Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. until 7 a.m., you can set up your charging window that way. Or all day, and you can do the same thing weekends or weekdays. Or turn that off and it'll just charge up all the time. But that's using charging inside of this ride. It's really, really simple. There's ambient lighting available inside of the ride too, and you could look at the demo mode, which is kind of neat. You can customize your ambient light. So if you wanted it to be a certain color, you've got the flexibility of adjusting it out, but you can also set it to your drive mode. Where that comes into play is as you move between your different drive modes, it's going to change up the look of the cabin, which I think is really neat. Then you can also adjust out the brightness of that ambient light. There's also park assist available inside of the ride. The vehicle can help out with both parallel and perpendicular parking in and out. But if you want to walk through on how to actually use the park assist system, you'll find that down in the description of this video. You saw earlier, you've got all your different climate settings on the bottom of the screen and under it, but there are more settings available here too. So as you adjust out, you can see everything adjusting through the screen there, under the screen, over the screen, etc. You've got Google Maps inside of the ride too. So this is a Google device. It's essentially going to be Android built in, but it gives you so much flexibility. Now, I signed into my Google account when I was looking at the Playstore, which means that I've got my account logged in here. Where that comes into play, any address that you search for on your phone, if you're logged into your Gmail account for Google Maps, that's going to pull up all of that information right inside of the infotainment system. You can search for addresses, so additional addresses that way. You could also search for EV stations, so it's essentially a hot button push in order to search for different point of interest icons. You can tap here in order to search using your voice if you'd like to. Voice command prompt, navigate to Tim Hortons.
There's a Tim Hortons 0.3 kilometers away.
So you can go to different options. I chose one that's further away, and the reason why is because you've got different routes that are available. So what you could do here is tap this little feller and then select whichever route you'd like to take. You could look at route options, so avoiding highways, toll roads, ferries, things like that, and then hit back from there, back again, and then just tap start. And once you've got your route going, you're going to see your turn-by-turn directions inside of the cluster screen. On top of that, if you've got a head-up display, it'll show it there. You can hit here to go back to the different routes that were available. You can hit this in order to add in different stops. So maybe you wanted to stop at, I don't know, maybe a charging station along the way. So you could select whatever station that you'd like. So let's just randomly select this little feller. So you can see we've got our routes that we're going to there. You can add the stop in. And then you can see there, we're going to stop at Electrify Canada. And actually, why don't we do this? Look at this one here. You've got your route details. You can edit the stops here too. So maybe you wanted to grab a coffee before you charge up. You can do that. And then you can hit the X icon here in order to be able to cancel out. So if you know that you're going multiple destinations, you can add in as many of these stops as you'd like to, tapping done, or X there, and then X again in order to cancel that route out. You could hit here in order to show traffic route options, so avoiding highways, toll roads, and ferries. You could download offline maps. And the benefit there is that if you're going somewhere where you know you're not going to have connection, you could download maps, directions, and things like that right to the screen. From here, you can look at your different perspective views, so north up, head up, etc. Different perspectives. If there are different hazards along the route as you go, you can also add those in. You can get rid of this box or minimize it by tapping the little arrow there too. There's full pinch to zoom capabilities inside of this ride. You could zoom in and out this way too. Recenter it, back on you again. But that's using factory navigation. It's Google-based, which means it's nice and easy to use. Let's go ahead and add in a phone. Now, one downside is that Chevrolet Electrics unfortunately don't have Apple CarPlay capabilities, so it's strictly Bluetooth. Now, I have heard from a lot of people inside of these vehicles, they don't necessarily miss CarPlay because you can download different apps directly to the screen and then connecting over Bluetooth in order to be able to make phone calls and stream audio that way. But what you're going to do on your phone, just go into your Bluetooth connections. We're waiting for Chevrolet to show up. Tap it, Bueller. There we go. Pin numbers match up, so let's go ahead and pair and pair. Do you want to allow access to contacts and favorites to sync up? This is not my car, so I'm saying no to that one. And we are connected. You can hit options here in order to show first to connect. So if there are multiple phones inside of the vehicle, you've got your calling in media there. You can disconnect or you can completely forget. So if you tap your phone now, you can see recents, contacts, the keypad as well. You can hit here in order to show your phone. You've got your contact order, things like that. But it's simple now because there isn't going to be CarPlay inside of this ride. It's pretty limited what you can do. Obviously, making phone calls and streaming audio is easy. And then you've also got your phone information now along the very top of the screen. You can also hit here in order to get back to that screen. So if you've got multiple phones that you want to connect, that's what you're going to do in order to make it happen. But that's how you set up Apple devices inside of this ride. Setting up phones inside of the Equinox EV is a very straightforward process. If you weren't on the screen, you're back home, tap phones. I've got this phone connected, so you're going to go just swap and then hit plus there. Let's go ahead, switch phones, and on your Android device, you're looking for the vehicle name to show up. There we go. Pin numbers match up, so let's go ahead and OK and pair. There we go. So now connected to the Galaxy. So you can be connected to one phone at a time, but if you hit options now, you can show first to connect. So if there are multiple phones connected, who's it going to try to connect to first? You can disconnect or you can completely remove. So if we hop back, you've got that phone that's been connected there too. And then back from there, if you hit the swap icon along the top, it brings you back to this screen. So you could hit here and then forget and forget. That's going to remove the one phone, forget, forget, and forget. But that's how you set up phones inside of this ride. And you've got a series of different controls available too, which we've already seen all of these options. So traction control, high beams, park assist. Actually, we didn't see these ones. So doors and windows. So you can lock out the rear windows if you'd like to. You can also set different options for the liftgate. So you could set your own custom level. There's a button on the liftgate door that you can push and hold to set your own level that way. You can turn it into a manual mode. So you have to manually lift it up yourself, or max open for power. Drive and park, you can turn off traction control. There's blind spot steering, one pedal drive options. So you'll see a lot of these things that are duplicated a few different spots. There are a boatload of settings, which we'll touch on last. And then you've also got all of these options here. So pulling up your camera, front versus back view, your Google Assistant, which you could activate that way along the steering wheel, or by saying, hey Google, and you can activate it that way. You've got My Chevrolet. There is a Chevrolet app available that lets you do things like precondition, lock doors, etc. You've got your news, hotspot, Alexa, Waze was an app that I downloaded, so that's available now, Spotify, and music. Which means, next up, all of the available settings. Starting off with connections, that's where you're going to go to see your phone connections, your Wi-Fi networks if they were available, turn your vehicle into a wireless hotspot that does need an active plan through OnStar in order to work. And then you've got trusted device information there too. You've got some vehicle settings available. So audio settings, which we've already seen. So managing your stations or your sound settings. Drive mode customization for that individual drive mode. Teen Driver is going to give you some limitations for the key fob. So things like limiting vehicle speed, things like that. Rear seat reminder. If the second row doors have been opened up and then you go to hop out of the vehicle, you'll get a message inside of the cluster screen telling you to check the back seats. Buckle to drive is available there too. So if your seatbelt isn't buckled in, you go to drive, initially it won't let you, and then eventually it will. I'm just not a fan of that one. There are some options for climate control, things like that. So your fan speed. When you start the vehicle up, do you want your heated seats or ventilated seats to come on? Ventilated if they were available. Do you want your defog, defrost to come on? Yay, nay. There are a series of comfort and convenience settings. So your volumes, what do you want that to be at? Your power liftgate, what option do you want there? So again, you'll see a few of these things, a few different spots. Hands-free access is available. So as long as you've got the key fob on you, walk up towards the back end, it's going to automatically open up that liftgate for you. Reverse mirror tilt, you can have it for the driver passenger, strictly the driver or the passenger. So when you go to put yourself into reverse, you can see there, those mirrors tilt down. When you go back into park, the mirrors tilt back up again. I'm personally not crazy about that setting, but on off as necessary. Auto wipe when in reverse. So if you've got your windshield wipers going, and then you put yourself into reverse, it's going to turn on that rear wiper for you. Driver attention assist. If you start to look a little bit too drowsy, if you're moving over to different lanes without signaling, eventually it's going to tell you that you should probably take a break, but you can toggle it off if you'd like to. Different options for lighting. So ambient light, when you walk up to the vehicle at nighttime, do you want to get a little danced? Your door locks, auto unlock. Do you want all doors to become unlocked or just the driver's door? Remote lock, unlock, and start. When you go to unlock the vehicle, do you get some sort of a feedback? When you lock, do you want to get lights and horns, just lights or horn? I'd recommend at least a horn so that you know you're actually locked, but you can go either way. Let's see here. When you remote unlock the doors, do all doors become unlocked or is it just the driver's door? When you remote start using the fob, do the heated ventilated seats come on? And then there's also remote window operation too. So there is an auto walkaway lock feature, but with remote start and things like that, let's hop outside and I'll show you how some of these ones work. To remote start, push the lock button once and then that circle button twice within a few seconds. You're just going to go lock, 1, 2, and I don't know if you saw that light flash there, so the vehicle is on. To cancel the remote start, push and hold that circle button in order to do it. Remote start's canceled. You can get into the liftgate, well, the trunk, I should say, a few different ways. So if you double push the trunk release button, look at that, up it goes. You do have the option for hands-free too. So as long as the feature is enabled, walk up towards the back end and it's going to automatically open up. Then you can also set a custom height here. So if you wanted to, just drag this up or down, however far or high you'd like it to sit. Push and hold the button there for a few seconds. You've got that chime, so it just wouldn't open up past that point. And then just button push in order to close. Then there's one other thing that you can do with the fob, and that's rolling the windows down. So in order to do it, you just push and hold the unlock button twice. You're going to go 1, 2, and hold. So 1, 2, and hold. Watch this. You can release it once they start rolling down, and that's going to be all 4 windows. So first row, second row, driver, and passenger side. I love these settings. The remote window operation is really neat. I wish that it was also window up, but at least you could roll them down if you'd like. And then you want to get different reminders and chirps. There's your transport mode available too. Nothing exciting there. Notifications, nothing exciting. You can toggle your notifications off. You can adjust your date and time. Do you want to be in that 12 versus 24-hour mode? So do you prefer military time? And then you've got a few of these that are grayed out because you're in the auto mode. So I recommend keeping yourself in auto unless you live somewhere where you straddle a time zone and it's constantly flipping you from one time zone to the other. So you could lock yourself in there, and that's the same thing for the date and time. So do you want to adjust that yourself or leave it in the auto mode? There's some options for the display. So there's a light versus a dark mode. In the auto, it flips you between the light or the dark, just depending on how bright it is outside. Do you want to get your turn-by-turn directions inside of the cluster screen? Do you want your traffic sign recognition to be there? Yay, nay. You could turn off the display this way. Button push along the top. Hey, jet, in order to turn it back on again. And then you got options for your sounds, your startup volume. So if you've got the audio cranked, you get out of the vehicle, start her back up again. What level do you want your audio to be set at? Your feedback. So that beeping that we're getting, you can toggle it off. You've got all of your profile information. So since I signed into my Gmail account, it's now linked up. There's some privacy info, nothing exciting there. Assistant, there's accessibility options. So do you want caption preferences? Yay, nay. Assistance. So you've got your Google Assistant available there. So you can say, hey Google, in order to log into your assistant or launch your assistant that way. You've got different options for the languages for the car. Do you want to be able to read notifications, or have notifications read to you, I should say, as text messages come in? There's security information, so profile locks, again, you'll want to make sure you use that for basic security. There are a series of different system options, so you can adjust it your language, so English, French, or Spanish. You can change out your keyboard options there. There are a series of different measurement units available here too, so you want to be in either US or metric, and that changes up what's going on inside of the cluster screen and your climate underneath the screen there too. You've got a series of different reset options available. So if the infotainment screen is giving you problems, you can do a full factory reset, which is the last thing that you want to do. There's a way to do a soft screen reboot that I'll show you towards the end of this video, but you can reset the vehicle settings, erase the entire infotainment screen, things like that. There's some storage information, so you can see how much storage you've got available in the system. So as you go to download different apps, so things like ways that I've installed, that's going to take up space. So you can adjust that out if you'd like. And then let's say if the screen's ever giving you problems, so your phone's not connecting properly, maps are frozen, the screen's actually frozen up on you, or even if it's not, you could do a full factory reset there. So you go to reset options, you can reset infotainment data, etc. That's the last thing that you want to do, because that's going to wipe everything from the screen. What you actually want to try first, along the steering wheel here, you've got the little answer hang up on a phone call button. If you push and hold down on the steering wheel button there, so hang up, just keep on hanging on. It's going to be 10 to 12 seconds or so it's going to take a little bit. You might go crazy waiting, but just hang on. And what we're doing is entering a soft reboot cycle. There we go. So eventually you'll see this message pop up. Don't do anything. You can enter recovery mode to download or to delete apps from the vehicle that you've previously installed, but just wait a second. And what it's going to do is it's going to reboot the screen. So it's the exact same thing as if you were to do a reboot or a soft reboot on your phone. So just starting and stopping there. Going to take a second to look at that. Starts it up. That should get rid of the majority of issues that you're facing. If that doesn't work, then the next step would be to go to your system and then try that full factory reset. So under your reset options. And then if that reset doesn't work, so erasing, etc., then you're going to want to take your vehicle into your Chevrolet dealership. You'll find the option for a wireless charge pad. There are 2 USB Type-C charge ports with some cup holders there. The armrest, a good amount of space there. Down low, you saw there, good amount of space with a 12-volt power point. The glove box in the ride, non-lockable. There's a good amount of space in that box. Basic design for the dash there. Yeah, I like that little highlight. It's kind of neat. Probably end up wrapping it with faux carbon fiber anyways, but neat. Overhead from there, you've got an auto-dimming rear view mirror. So if somebody's flashing their high beams out at you later on at night, it's going to dim out completely. Then from there, fully digital rear view available as an option here too. So you can adjust the brightness, zoom in or out, move up or down too. Or let's go back to that old school view. From there, you've got your tow mode, SOS mode, 4-way blinkers, and then you're going to find the option for a panoramic sunroof. So, well, technically dual panes because it doesn't go all the way back, but I mean, it's better than just one that opens here, right? That's nice. Then you can create a little, oh, there we go, pop it right open. Like that little bug guard. That's beautiful. So single button press opens it up. Most of the way. Secondary press is that last little bit. That's nice. Yeah, it just opens things up in the car so nicely. Overhead from there, you're going to find a little ticket receipt holder on the outside, not on the inside though. And then there's a vanity mirror that has some lights built in there. And this little feller, oh yeah, stretches out. That's blocking all of the sun. It's going to hit your face. And let's recenter that seat. But the overall visibility here is good. Feature set solid. I would like to see Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, but you can download the majority of apps right through the Playstore there if you'd like to. All right, let's go check out that second row. Oop. So it helps if I unlock the door. All right, second row of the ride. You've got that same highlight along the door again because this is the RS with some storage there and a speaker. And then hopping inside. So with the driver's seat set up for myself being 6 feet tall, inside of the second row, I've got some knee space, some foot space, which is good. And then headspace is nice. I can actually sit in here fully upright too. So plenty of headspace there. I'd say 6'1", maybe 6'2" for the second row, but 6'1" for sure. You should be okay in the second row. Seats are okay. Not the most comfortable in the second row, but they're passable. Getting 3 full-size adults might be, like, it could be possible. So look here. Yeah, I mean, that's not too bad. And then up overhead, ooh, I can actually sit here. I mean, I can sit in the middle seat here. Would I want to? Absolutely not. But I mean, if push came to shove, I could fit in the middle seat of the second row. It's just not comfortable by any stretch. So feature-wise back here, you're gonna find some cup holders built right into the seat. There are some anchor points down low with top tethers in behind the seat. Overhead, you saw earlier, so you've got your little handle. Also a light there. Down low, you're gonna find pockets behind both the passenger and the driver's side. Some basic HVAC controls with the option for second row heated seats. So the heated seats there, strictly gonna be the outboard. So this middle seat would never be heated. And then you've got some USB Type-C charge ports down low. Outside of that, you've got a little handle, there's a hook, and a light along the driver's side. The rear end styling of the Equinox EV, I think, is pretty sleek. I like the way everything kind of tapers down, nice rounded out along the back. Technology-wise back here, you're gonna find the reverse park sensing system. There's a backup camera along with the rear wiper. And then some trim levels of the ride also have the option for a top mounted camera. And that one is going to be for a fully digital rear view mirror. Towing inside of this ride is also possible. You're maxing out at 1,500 pound towing capacity. So it's not much by any stretch, but a small boat, trailer would be okay. But one thing to note is that if you're towing in an electric and, well, I guess technically even a regular gas engine too, is that towing is going to negatively impact your overall range. The amount it gets impacted is going to depend on how much you're towing and your driving habits too. So that's something to consider. And 1,500 pounds is good enough, I think, for most things. Now, getting into the trunk of this ride can be done so many different ways. There's a button to the left-hand side of the steering wheel. You can use the key fob to do it. Just beside the backup camera, above the plate, there's also a button there. You can insert your fingers and push. And then there's also the option for the hands-free liftgate. So as long as you've got the key fob on you and the features enabled, you're just gonna walk up towards the back end. It's kind of like sweet spot that you've got to hit. Hands-free trunk. I like that one better than the foot activated, but useful either way. And then feature-wise back here, nothing off to the right. Off to the left, there's a 12-volt power point, one of 2, along with a light. And this one has one of the available packages in order to be able to get the little rubberized tray in the back. And then lifting that up, you're going to find a great amount of storage space along with a little carrying case for the charge cable. And folding down the second row seats inside of the ride can be done from the trunk or from the second row. Same button along the top, but if you can't reach it from the trunk, you can easily access it from that second row, but from the back here, so it's a 60-40 bench. So 60 on the driver, 40 on the passenger side. All you're gonna do, push that button and drop. And you've actually got a really good amount of space inside of this ride. The cargo measurements that you're looking at here, the ones specifically behind the first row, those go from right where that trunk door would close to just in behind the little armrest between the first row seats. So if the driver's seat, passenger seat were forwards or backwards, you'd gain or lose a little bit of extra space, but plenty spacious inside of this ride. Like the pickup and go. It's electrics though. The torque, instant torque is so good. And here we go. So far, I really enjoy this car. Equinox EV, the regular Equinox is good. So when Chevrolet announced that they were making an electric version, curious what they could accomplish and said no complaints yet. It's been outside of no Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, but let's go ahead. Do some on-route handling here. Power. That's acceptable power. Oh, that's pretty good. I love that there's the option for the full hands-free Super Cruise feature inside of the ride. So it's optional. You have to get one of the advanced assistant packages to get it. You'll have regular and adaptive cruise control by default. And then the Super Cruise is full hands-free driving. If you're the type of person where you spend any amount of time on highways, interstates, doing regular driving, I would absolutely recommend looking at the Super Cruise package. So the regular lane keeping system you'll find inside of the ride is okay. It'll nudge you back into your lane, but the Super Cruise full hands-free driving keeps you perfectly balanced. You can override it at any point in time by hitting the gas, hitting the brake, grabbing the steering wheel, etc. So it's a great system all around. One thing that I like about this car too is how quiet it is. It's an electric, so it's naturally going to be quiet anyways, but a little bit of road noise, like the smallest amount coming from the side here, but outside of that, it's incredibly quiet inside of this cabin. And that was everything you needed to know about the Chevrolet Equinox EV. You can find all the build details for this one down in the description, along with links off to Chevrolet Canada and USA. But if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone if you think they might find it helpful. And until I see you next time, take care. Under the hood, audio sync up. Under the hood, don't lock. Ah, damn it, audio sync up. So as long as you've got the key fob on you, the feature's enabled. Walk up to the back end. Oh, come on, now you're not gonna work. Eat it.